Hello, everybody. This is much better. Sorry to the beverage people that you had to hear that screaming, but it's the only way we can get to the masses. And if they haven't come by now, it's their own loss. So if you have a question, just raise your hand and I will come over and let you ask your question. And if you don't have a question, I'm going to pretend that I'm asking questions. And I'm going to give you answers I think you need to know. So does anybody have a question to start? Yes, we do. Here's our first question. All right, so he asked if he has a pickup truck with a gooseneck, trailer, 2 truck shows. Here's how it works for a CDL. A Class A CDL is where the GVWR combination is greater than 26,001 or more pounds. So you should open up the door on your truck and you should look at the little decal inside the door and you write that number on a piece of paper. Let's say that number is 12,000 pounds, GVWR. Then you need to find that little label on the trailer and you need to write that number down on a piece of paper. Let's say that number on the trailer is 20,000 pounds. 12 plus 20 is 32,000 pounds. That's over 26, so far you need a Class A CDL, but only if the trailer is also over 10,000 pounds. Didn't we just say your trailer's 20,000? That's more than 10, yes? So 12 plus 20 is 32, and the trailer's over 10, so he needs a Class A CDL. However, if he can turn that trailer into an RV, which means more than 50% of that trailer is used for sleeping quarters, and you can get the state to plate it as an RV, then that trailer turns into an RV, and you're exempt from a Class A CDL. So there are many people that go to horse shows with trucks and trailers, and there's a sleeping quarters in the horse trailer. They put an RV on the trailer, and they do not need a Class A CDL. A Class B CDL is a single truck without a trailer over 26,000. Now your little 1-ton truck is never going to get to that. What's weird about that is, let's talk numbers. Let's say you had a dually pickup truck with a trailer and combined it was 28,000 pounds and the trailer was, say, 16. Well, it's over 26 and the trailer's over 10, so you need a Class A. Crazy if you had exactly 26,000 pound truck and an exact 10,000 pound trailer. 26 and 10 is 36, so far you need it. But the trailer's not over 10, is it? It's 10, it's not over 10. So you can drive a 36,000 pound combination without a CDL. And the next guy has a 28,000 pound combination that needs a Class A. Who finds that completely silly? But there's the answer. So Class A CDL, if you have your truck and trailer here, I'd be more than happy to go inspect it. And if it's wrong and you don't have a CDL, guess what? I'm not a cop anymore, so I'll just give you some education and you don't have to worry about getting a ticket. So, does that answer your question? He doesn't have a CDL and he drives it to shows. So I checked it and it's just under the requirement. All right, any other questions? Keep them coming if anybody has one. Anyone? Bueller?
If you're in that situation, he said, do you have to stop at the way station?
All right, so stopping at a way station in his situation, he is not in the furtherance of a commercial business. It's personal in nature. It used to be under the law that if you were like going to race car tracks or horse shows or truck shows, if you win money or a trophy, they considered that a commercial business. That's why you would find a lot of horse shows with some people with DOT numbers and some didn't. The ones with DOT numbers were the ones that had gotten stopped, right? Well, they came out with new guidance. If you're just going to truck shows or horse shows or race car shows for money and trophies, they now consider that hobbyist, and it is no longer considered a commercial business. So in your situation, you don't need a DOT number. You don't need a medical card. You don't need a logbook. You need nothing. And the section of the regs that say you need nothing is 390.3, little parentheses F, little parentheses 3. I'll say it again. 390, period 3, little parentheses, F and 3. Here's what it says. The occasional transportation of personal property, not in the furtherance of a commercial business or for compensation, is exempt from everything. Now to get back to what you're saying. You do not need anything other than the CDL in the scenario I said. You don't need anything else. But do you have to stop at a scale? Some states say any trucks over 8,000 pounds or 10,000 pounds, depending on how many tons the sign says in that state, say that you have to pull into the scale. Just because you're exempt from all those rules doesn't mean you don't have to pull in the scale. So you should always pull over the scale if it says trucks over 4 tons pull in, because in that case it would be more than 8,000 pounds, right? If it says commercial motor vehicles over 4 tons, you're not a commercial motor vehicle in the furtherance of that business because you're exempt. You will then be able to potentially get away with it. However, what's the best bet? Just pull into the scale. And if you get pulled in and pulled out back and you have a CDL, you tell them 390.3 F3 and you show them a link to the website that talks about hobbyist and horse shows with all that guidance, and that will set you free, right? So pull in, give them the exemption, make sure you have a CDL unless you're an RV. Any other questions? Keep them coming. All right, I have a story for you at a driver meeting. I do driver meetings for truckers, and this story bothered me and it still bothers me. There was a driver who drove about 50 years. He was like 76 years old, still driving truck, and his knees hurt. So his wife bought him some CBD oil, and he grabbed that CBD oil and he rubbed it all over his kneecaps. Then he went in for a DOT drug test, and there was too much marijuana, THC, in that CBD. So this 76-year-old driver has been driving since his 20s, got busted for having a positive drug test because of CBD oil. And what happened? He got prohibited from operation, and they put his name in that drug and alcohol clearinghouse. So then if he got pulled over, they would shut him down because he is a disqualified driver who tested positive for THC usage because he put CBD oil on his kneecaps. What did he have to do? He had to go in and see a drug counselor, get evaluated, start some treatment, and then he had to do a return to duty test. Once he got cleared with all that paperwork, did the return to duty test, which, by the way, requires you to pull your pants down mid-thigh, pull your shirt up above your belly button, spin in a circle while someone of the same gender watches you provide that sample. He had to do that, and when he's negative, then he can drive. Too bad, he needs another 6 follow-up tests in the next 12 months minimum. And he has to do the same thing when he goes to provide that specimen. All because of what? CBD oil. Be careful with that CBD oil because you don't know how much THC is in it. If you go to a website called Odapsy, it literally has a notice on there, and it says, I'm not a little tech nerd here, I'm certainly not a drug content expert, but it says any product including CBD with concentration of more than 0.3% THC remains classified as marijuana. So he grabbed the wrong CBD oil. Yep, go ahead. He's going to go make an announcement about moving some vehicles. So when you hear the big announcement over everything, I have to shut up. And there's not a lot of people that can get me to shut up, but he just did it. So what's the moral of the story here? If you're a trucker, stay away from CBD oil. What else can get you in trouble? Using your wife's prescription for Percocet or Vicodin. If you use, he said, what? I heard a guy, I can't use her prescription. If you use someone else's prescription for Percocet or Vicodin because your back hurts, if you test positive, they're going to bring you in and say, show me your prescription, and it ain't yours, so now you're positive. If you have your own prescription and it expired, but you think the pills are still good and you like to use them whenever you need to, you'll provide your prescription, and that prescription will be expired and you're still going to be positive. So don't use other people's pills. Don't rub CBD oil. And obviously don't do crack cocaine and heroin and all that. Yep, he said something about poppy seeds. That can happen with some drug tests, but the DOT drug tests do not have the same threshold for positive drug tests. So what's weird is there are some non-DOT drug tests you could test positive for, and then a DOT drug test you're still negative. Because the threshold and the levels for a positive test in some cases are more lenient with a DOT test than a non-DOT. A good feedback. Any other questions here? All right, personal conveyance. You guys ready for personal conveyance? I do these presentations on Road Dog Radio, channel 146, the Mark Willis Show. Some of you that have been driving around might have heard me on the radio. I get a lot of questions, and most of them are about personal conveyance. There are 4 scenarios where personal conveyance is legal. 4. And I'm going to outline those specifically and give you a little background. I will tell you. We'll let a couple trucks pass. So personal conveyance is where you're allowed to legally drive your truck on a road in the off-duty status. I'll say it again. You push a little button on your ELD, or if you're running paper logs, you just put personal conveyance. It is line 1 off-duty, legally driving your truck in the off-duty status. Drivers know they need a 10-hour break. Drivers know they need a 30-minute break, which can be on duty now, right? Or sleeper or off duty. Drivers know they need a 34-hour restart, yes? During the 34-hour restart, during your 30-minute break, or during your 10-hour break, if you qualify, you can push this button called PC and run off duty legally. Does it mess up your break? It does not. It's good to go. The only caveat is you can't be ill or fatigued. Can't be tired. How do you get busted by them state patrol guys for ill or fatigue? You tell them, I'm tired, I don't feel good. Don't say that. You say you feel fantastic and you are as chipper as you've ever been. And they can't write you up for ill or fatigued. I don't know how many drivers like, why'd you sway in your lane? I was a little bit tired. So they give you a lane deviation and an ill or fatigued, you see? So now, driving your truck legally on a road off duty. Number 1, if you are at a truck stop or a motel and you are taking a 10-hour break, personal conveyance.
Could I have your attention, please?
Shh.
Could I have your attention, please?
We're talking personal conveyance. Driving your truck legally on a road, not ill or fatigued. Circumstance number 1. When you are taking a 10-hour break or a 34-hour restart or a 30-minute break, not that you would need it in a 30-minute break, you can go to a restaurant or entertainment, and you can use PC to do it. So if I'm at a truck stop and all they have is vending machines, I can leave the truck stop and go to a restaurant. If I'm at the truck stop and all they have is arcade games, I can leave to go to a movie theater. So can you leave a truck stop while you're off duty for restaurant or entertainment? Yes, that's exactly what it says in the rules. If you're at a shipper receiver and you've been there for 5 hours and they keep delaying you and you're on a 5-hour break and you're hungry, can you leave the shipper receiver loaded and PC to a restaurant and come back? The answer is yes. So circumstance number 1, entertainment or restaurants. Now, does that mean you should use PC to drive 380 miles to a casino across the street from where you're delivering? No. There should be some limitation, because in those cases you'll be ill or fatigued. So that's the first circumstance. The second one, going to your home, your residence. There are only 2 places, period, case closed, where you can drive to your house. Place number 1, company terminal. If your butt is sitting at the company terminal, loaded or not, you can push PC and drive to your home. How far? As far as you want. Now, trucking companies can say, no. You're not going 160 miles to your house from the terminal. Could you? Yes. Can the company say, no? Yes. Now, can you do it if you're tired or fatigued? No. So how far can you go from a terminal to your house? As far as you want. Is it legal? Yes, it is. Second place, trailer drop lot. Let's say you're at a shipper receiver and it's a place where you end every Friday and you drop your trailer there and you bobtail to your home. Can you go from a trailer drop lot to your house? Yes. Can you go from your house back to the trailer drop lot? Yes. So terminal to your home, trailer drop lot to your home. Anywhere else? Nope. Can you use PC to go from a shipper receiver to your house? You cannot. Number 3 scenario. Aha. Now we're at the shipper receiver. What can you do when you're at the shipper receiver? If you just loaded and unloaded, you're allowed to push that little button and drive off duty on a road as long as you're going to the nearby reasonable safe location, which is the closest place to the shipper receiver. Does that mean you can push PC, drive on a road, pass up 72 truck stops, almost run out of hours, and then push it to find parking? No, that's not personal conveyance. That's bad planning. But can you load and unload and go directly to the closest truck stop? The answer is absolutely yes. Now, if you get to that closest truck stop and it's full, can you take a camera in your truck or your camera on your phone, take photos and document it's full, then proceed to the next closest truck stop under PC? The answer is yes. Scenario number 4. If a safety official says you can't park somewhere, so you go to an on-ramp to a rest area, and they come up after you've been there for 6 hours and they say, get out of here, you can't park here. You can use PC to go find the next closest place and it will not break up your 10-hour break. 4 scenarios. If you're on a break, you can go to a restaurant or entertainment. You can go to your home from a terminal or drop lot. You can go to the closest truck stop after you load and unload, and a safety official can tell you to move and it will not mess up your time. Did I say that when you're at a shipper and they knock on your door to back up to the dock, that you can use personal conveyance to back up to the dock at the shipper? You cannot do that, because backing up to the dock at the shipper is considered on-duty time, which is line 4. How many truckers are at a shipper receiver, and they're there for 6 or 7 hours and they get a knock on the door? A bunch. You can't use PC. You can't log off and drive. If your ELD lets you, you're not allowed to drive at 1 mile an hour, so it doesn't trip you into the driving status in your ELD. Just because you're driving 1 mile an hour doesn't mean you're not working. You're just working very slowly, right? So what are you supposed to do if you're at a shipper receiver and they knock on your door and you've been there for 7 or 8 hours or 3 or 4 hours? What you're supposed to do is split your sleeper berth at the shipper. What are you talking about, John? I get to the shipper at my 14th hour. I sit there for 3 hours. They knock on my door. I don't want to lose that 3 hours. Well, you don't. You push yard move. Wait a minute. What's yard move? Yard move is driving when you're not on a road, you're at a facility, and it's driving in the on-duty status. So what would John Seidel do if I was at a shipper receiver for 3 hours? I would do yard move while I backed up to the dock and loaded and unloaded. Then I would immediately do sleeper berth in a row to add to the 3 hours I just took. If I'm at a shipper receiver and I take 3 hours sitting there, do yard move for an hour, then do 7 in my sleeper berth, I can take the 7 I just did in my sleeper, add it to the 3 I did before I unloaded, and that is my 10-hour break. And the 3 and the 7 do not count towards your 14. So all you're going to lose the next day when you do it that way is the yard move time towards your day. So if you did yard move for 30 minutes, when you wake up, you still have 13 and a half hours and still have 11 driving. So what do all drivers need to do? They need to learn how to split their sleeper berth in 2021. So, personal conveyance. I told you the 4 scenarios. One caveat many people forget is this. Can you use personal conveyance with a full load on your trailer? Absolutely yes. It says right in there, it does not matter if you are laden or unladen, which means you can have a load. As long as you meet those 4 scenarios, loaded or not, you're good. I hear this a lot. Well, if you use personal conveyance, you have to go back to where you started. That is not true. If you are at the company terminal and you push personal conveyance to drive to your home, and then you're subsequently dispatched from your house, your day will start from your house. You do not have to go back to the terminal. No requirement. That is a fallacy that many people misunderstand. So, personal conveyance, yard move, covered it, right? Any other questions? Or I'm going to teach you drivers something that if you don't know this, I apologize. If you don't know this, you have wasted many, many, many hours sitting at a truck stop that you don't need to, and you shouldn't have had to. You have forced yourself to drive too many hours when you don't have to. All right, so any other questions? If not, I'm going to explain some other little cool caveat. Anyone else? All right. Who here has ever done a 10-hour break at a truck stop? Raise your hand. You're at a truck stop, you do 10 hours in a row of a break, yes? From now on, do your best to take 8 consecutive hours in your sleeper berth when you take a 10-hour break. I'm going to say it again. When you take a 10-hour break at a truck stop, running paper or an ELD, do not do off-duty for the whole 10 hours. Do not do a sleeper berth and a little off-duty and a little sleeper and a little off-duty. Make it so 8 hours in a row in that 10-hour break is in a sleeper without any interruption, straight line 2 in a row. Why? Because then any delay the next day that's 2 or more hours does not count towards your 14. You can validate any delay during your day as long as you can add it to 8 hours in the sleeper berth. So what is John Seidel going to do if I'm at a truck stop? I'm going to get there and do 1 hour off duty. I'm going to get in my jammies, I'm going to brush my teeth, I'm going to get a snack. Then I'm going to go in my sleeper berth for 8 hours in a row with no off duty. Then I'm going to wake up and get a coffee and a breakfast sandwich and brush my teeth. Did I just take a 10-hour break at a truck stop? Yes. Did I do 8 in a row in the sleeper? Yes. Now let's talk about my next day. I drive for 6 hours. You see what I'm tracking? Driving for 6. Then I get to a shipper and they delay me for 5 hours off duty. So far I did 6 plus 5, that's 11, towards my 14, which means I can only drive for 3. Well, how fair is that? I drove for 6, got delayed really long, and now I can only drive for 3 because I hit my 14. I just lost 2 hours of driving, yeah? Well, I'm not out there to sit at a truck stop. I'm out there to drive 11 hours if I can. Well, what's nice is that driver was smart. He did 8 in the sleeper berth the night before. That 5-hour break at the shipper does not count towards his 14 because it's validated by the 8 in the sleeper. So can you extend your day past 14 by validating delays of 2 or more hours added to 8 in the sleeper as part of a 10? The answer is yes. When did that start? September 29th, 2020. So at the truck show last year, you couldn't do it. Now you can. I'm going to tell you why I think this is super safe. Who here has ever started at 6 a.m. in the morning and you believe your 14-hour day is about to end at 8 p.m., right? 6 a.m., 8 p.m., you're done. The thing that sucks is your delivery time is 11 p.m. Who wants to get to the shipper receiver at 8 p.m. when they don't need to get there till 11 because they're racing up against their 14-hour clock? I don't. Well, guess what? If last night you did 8 in the sleeper and you know your appointment's not till 11, you can actually do a 17-hour day by taking a 3-hour break in the middle of the day at a truck stop of your choosing. So you can get a shower, you can watch a movie, whatever. So can you then do a 17-hour day? Yes. You can start at 6 a.m. and end at 11 p.m. and that's legal because the 3-hour break in the middle of the day is validated by the 8 sleeper that you did the night before. Now, get this one. The night before, you couldn't do sleeper because you were at home at your house. That sucks, right? Because now you're 10 hours off duty because you're not in the sleeper. So technically, if you're at home, it's off-duty time. So then, you can't validate that 5-hour delay that you had, which stinks. Or you can't take that 3-hour break to do a 17-hour day because last night, you didn't have 8 in the sleeper. Aha, contraire, mon frere. Tonight, you're going to be at a truck stop, right? Tonight, you can do the 8 in the sleeper, and you can post-validate that 5 delay at the shipper, or the 3 you wanted to go to 17 hours. So if last night you did 10 hours off duty at home, and then you start at 6 a.m. and you have an 11 p.m. delivery, you can still take that 3-hour break and validate that 3 hours tonight with 8 in the sleeper. So what's the moral of the story? If you have ELDs, it'll calculate this for you if you have a good ELD. But the moral of the story is, if I'm a trucker, right? Anybody here, if you're a trucker and you're at a truck stop for 10 hours in the middle of who knows where, please put 8 hours in a row in your sleeper berth. Then any unknown delay is validated, allowing you to extend your day. What does this do for you truckers? It adds flexibility to your lives. It allows you to get more done. It allows you to take a nap when you're tired in the middle of the day. And that nap will allow you to get the rest you need so you're not racing up against your 14-hour clock. So we've covered splitting without splitting. Now what do I mean by that? I didn't really split my sleeper. I just took 8 as part of my 10 and validated the 3. That's not really splitting, but they counted as splitting. So we did splitting sleeper without splitting. We did personal conveyance and yard move. Does anybody else have any questions? Now, those that are listening are like, you know what, man? I didn't know that. Go ahead. All right. So what Mark's trying to bring up is this, and it makes sense. If you're like, well, if I need 8 in the sleeper, I'm just going to get to the truck stop and push sleeper berth for 10 hours in a row. Well, that's a bad idea, because whoever gets to the truck stop, leaps into their sleeper berth, 10 hours later leaps out into the driver's seat and drives away. Are there some inspectors that'll say, didn't you go in the truck stop? Well, yeah, I went in there to go to the bathroom. Wrong answer. Because if you go to the bathroom in the truck stop, it is off-duty time. Please don't put 10 consecutive hours in the sleeper berth. Now, what I will tell you is this. These sessions we do at the Waupun Truck Show are important. Answering questions are important. We want to learn as much as possible. I'm going to do a little promotion for something I got that I'm starting. It's called Trucking Wins. TruckingWins.com is a website. I'm developing training videos for drivers and owners and safety people. So instead of coming to the truck show and having a beer and sitting here in the grassy knoll, you can sign up for TruckingWins.com and you can get all the videos you want about everything. Agricultural exemption, load securement, drug and alcohol program, CBD oil, personal conveyance, all that stuff. So any other questions right now somebody wants answered? I'm going to be at the truck show all day today and tonight, drinking beer, watching all the pretty trucks go down Main Street. If you see me, come up and ask me a question. I'm going to be here tomorrow at 11 a.m., same spot. So if anybody couldn't come today, come tomorrow at 11 a.m., we'll answer anything. If not, I'm going to call that a pretty good information session for about a half an hour, 40 minutes. Any other questions? Are we good? I'm good. Thanks for coming, everybody.